Thanks for joining me for this edition of the Church Security Answer Man. I am so glad you're here today. We're going to talk about violence prevention through our landscaping. And this can also include crime prevention, but I want to talk about the big stuff. I want us to imagine the big things because we're always talking about active shooter, violent intruders, being attacked, and statistically, moving in and out of the church can be an area of an issue. If we talk about Bureau of Justice statistics, they tell us that over half of the incidents occur out in the parking lot of these big things that we think about. It's not as much inside as it is outside. So we really want to talk about giving people places to hide or preventing those and giving them less places to want to hang out through our landscaping. That's really what it comes down to. So let's talk about this violence prevention idea. Keeping criminals from easy access to our buildings, from them not wanting to commit crimes is very important. We don't want them to commit crimes at our church. We don't want them to hang out. And, we want it to be less attractive to them. So just a few quick steps. How do we do that? And we can do that, first of all, through use of what crime prevention specialists might say, use of hostile vegetation. So those are the things with sharp leaves, spikes on them, whatever the case is, thorns, all of those kind of things. So, and typically, around churches, we're not going to want to use those close to the building. We got kids, we got other folks. So maybe around the perimeters when we have gates and fences and stuff, use them to enhance that is a great thing. Keep people from wanting to hop those fences or go around those fences. And we really want to, our objective, we want to minimize places for criminals to want to hide or to hang out. So we've got to keep those bushes and stuff to a minimum, small, and it can be beautiful. I know some churches, one I'm going to show you here with some videos, so stay with us. We want to take a look at some actual vegetation around a church. And I know some churches that have some very small bushes, but they are very beautiful in the springtime, in the times when they are blossoming and that kind of stuff. And I am not a landscaper, so I want to make sure that that's very clear. I don't know the terms. I'm not familiar with the different types of bushes and landscaping, but I know the criminal prevention and the violence prevention concepts. And so that's what we're talking about today. So minimizing those places to hide. And, keep that vegetation trimmed. We don't want stuff blocking the windows. We don't want anything near the doors that's really big. We don't want people to be able to hide and hang out, feel comfortable getting under a window and hiding, for the crime prevention and being able to break the window out and crawl in from the bush kind of thing. We don't want that. We don't want people to feel like they can hide around our doors and those kind of things so that they can wait to attack us or wait to break in, if you will. So, and then real quick, we're talking about good lighting to support that landscape and a great camera system as well. That's what really helps us to have a solid plan for our landscaping and prevent violence, as well as preventing crime around our church. So you have the small bushes, less vegetation is more when it comes to this concept. And then you add great lights and you add a camera system. So very, very important, if you will. So for this process, so putting this all together, and it can take us time to do this, and we have to agree, your landscaping folks have to get together with the security folks, and we all have to get together with our leadership and say, hey, can we do this? Because I have seen it. I've been to churches doing seminars and visited and audited churches, and I have seen some beautiful, very tall landscaping and even hedges and stuff that are right next to the building. And it looks gorgeous and very well trimmed and all of that, very well kept. But it's bad for our violence and our crime prevention measures. So we want to make sure that we're looking at that stuff. And I want to show you a couple of videos here. Let's take a look at this one. And this is a church that I know, and I've driven by it. Great church, beautiful church, but they have these tall grasses at one end of the building. And I mean, you can see they block out view of the parking lot. So if you're security walking the perimeter, man, this is a pain. Great place too if you're kind of trying to hide, especially as you'll see coming up on the corner here. You can see those bushes right next to the building here as we approach the corner. There you can see how that little car there is just engulfed by that bush when you're trying to look around it or see what's going on in the parking lot. And then we get to the corner of the building, and there's no corner of the building. I mean, it's covered with bushes. Now, I do have to say, from what I've understood, I mean, you look here, there's a door over to the left there. So somebody could be hiding in these, and you come out that door, they could attack you. These are covering the windows, literally. So you could hide in those and break a window and crawl in. You've got great cover. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. Now, I do have to say, in defense of the landscaping folks here at this church, as I understand it, this grass is very sharp. It has sharp blades on it to where they tell me when they trim it, cut it back, they have to wear long sleeve shirts or they get cut up. So that's one thought. Next, let's look at these doorways at this church. I like this. The door on the upper left, has some big bushes, but it's not too bad. It would be a little bit difficult for most folks to hide there. They're very tight to the building. And if you look at the one on the bottom right, the vegetation around that is very, very small. So if anybody's coming in or out of that at that door, it's going to be extremely difficult for somebody to hide there and try to attack them as they come out of that door. So I like this vegetation, and when it's blooming and stuff, I'm sure it's gorgeous. Again, I'm not a landscaper. I know nothing about these bushes here, except the fact that I like that they are small. And here you see near what I know is the front door. You see back there behind it, there's a bigger bush. And fortunately, it's not a real thick bush, so you can see through it. Otherwise, if it was big and thick, I would not like it there next to the door. But you see on this side, the left side of the doors, very, very small vegetation. So I love it. And I've seen those flowers bloom as I'm driving by, as I'm at that church. And so it still makes for gorgeous, gorgeous landscaping. And then we're going to look here in a moment at others. Here's these windows, the other windows at the church. We saw the back ones covered with that huge grass. These gorgeous flowers, beautiful landscaping, but they're much smaller. No way to hide behind these right here, especially, and be able to break a window and crawl in or hide to attack someone. And they're still beautiful landscaping materials. So beautiful flowers on these things. So, but what we want is to prevent a place for people to hide and prevent a place for them to want to hang out. These are great. You see the door up there towards the top of the screen, and here we have very, very small vegetation. But hey, I love the design, the rocks, the vegetation. That is all good stuff as far as I'm concerned. So, really looking at the prevention part. And I think that we've made that point. I just wanted to make a quick point for you about these things and make sure that you as a church security or person are working long-term, because it could take some time to negotiate with the landscapers to give them some ideas and leadership that we don't need these tall hedges and just tall, gorgeous bushes. So long term, I encourage you to be talking to them. And this is all part of security assessment. And we'll get to it at some point, talking to you about doing a security assessment of your building and of your facility and your grounds. And then, as part of that, we're also adding lights and cameras to this. And we have solar lighting that we suggest down in the description if you're watching us on YouTube. We also have cameras that we suggest, and we give you the link so that you can click on if you just look down in the comments section, and we give you some ideas of where to start as you start your investigation of what kind of lights and what kind of cameras should we get. We're making some suggestions. I'm making those. I actually use those lights and cameras. So thanks for joining me for this. Here is this next video. I would encourage you to take a look at. It's similar material that I think is pertinent to you and the things that we need to talk about in church security.